Did you know some of the most beautiful flowers on Earth can also kill humans? Some can stop the heart within hours. Some attack the nervous system. Others trigger terrifying hallucinations before the body slowly begins shutting down from the inside. And the most disturbing part is, many of these flowers are not hidden deep inside remote jungles or forbidden forests. They grow in public parks, along highways, inside peaceful backyard gardens. And sometimes, people plant them simply because they are breathtakingly beautiful. Nature has always had a strange way of hiding danger behind beauty. And tonight, we are exploring 10 of the most beautiful flowers in the world that can also become deadly to humans. As this list continues, the danger becomes darker, the stories become stranger, and the final flower was once feared as one of the deadliest plants in European history. We begin with a flower that looks soft, elegant, and completely harmless. A flower associated with weddings, peaceful summer gardens, and quiet rainy mornings. But hidden beneath those delicate petals is a chemical defense system most people never even realize exists. Hydrangea. Hydrangea is one of the most recognizable ornamental flowers in the world. The plant usually grows as a large, rounded shrub between 3 and 10 feet tall, depending on the species and climate. Mature plants can become incredibly dense, covered in enormous blooms that almost hide the leaves underneath. From a distance, hydrangeas look almost unreal. The massive flower clusters resemble floating clouds of color suspended above deep green foliage. Entire gardens can appear softer and calmer simply because of their presence. One of the most fascinating things about hydrangeas is their color transformation. In acidic soil, many varieties produce icy blue flowers or deep blue-violet shades. But when planted in alkaline soil, those same flowers may gradually shift toward pink lavender or pale purple. Some blooms even contain multiple shades at once, giving the flower a watercolor appearance under sunlight. After rain, the petals hold tiny droplets of water along their edges, causing the flower heads to shimmer in the morning light. It is one of the reasons hydrangeas became symbols of romance and tranquility in many cultures. Looking closer, each giant bloom is actually made from dozens of tiny individual flowers packed tightly together. The petals are thin and delicate, with soft veins stretching outward from the center. Under bright sunlight, the petals almost appear slightly transparent. The leaves are broad, textured, and richly green with serrated edges. Their large surface area helps the plant absorb sunlight efficiently, while the slightly rough texture helps reduce moisture loss during warmer weather. Young stems are soft and flexible, but older branches slowly become woody enough to support the heavy blooms. Hydrangeas are native mainly to East Asia, especially Japan, Korea, and China. In Japan, they are deeply associated with the rainy season. Ancient temple pathways covered in blooming hydrangeas attract thousands of visitors every summer, creating scenes that feel almost dreamlike. In Japanese symbolism, hydrangeas often represent gratitude, emotional depth, and changing feelings because of their shifting colors. But nature loves contradiction, because hidden beneath this peaceful beauty is something surprisingly dangerous. Hydrangeas contain compounds called cyanogenic glycosides. When digested, these compounds can release toxins similar to cyanide inside the body. In most accidental human exposures, the effects are relatively mild because the plant is bitter and unpleasant to consume in large amounts. But symptoms may still include nausea, dizziness, breathing difficulties, stomach pain, and weakness. Pets such as dogs and cats are often at greater risk because they may chew leaves or flowers out of curiosity. What makes hydrangeas unsettling is not extreme toxicity, but the illusion of total safety. Most people never look at this flower and think of poison. It appears too soft, too harmless, too beautiful, and that is often how nature works. Some of the most dangerous things in the natural world wear the gentlest disguises. Despite its toxic properties, hydrangea remains one of the most popular landscaping plants on Earth because it adapts surprisingly well to different environments. The plant thrives in rich soil with consistent moisture and good drainage. Most varieties prefer gentle morning sunlight with partial shade during hotter afternoons, especially in warmer climates. Hydrangeas also require a large amount of water because of their broad leaves and enormous blooms. During peak summer heat, gardeners sometimes water them daily to prevent wilting. If properly cared for, the shrubs can bloom continuously for months. But if someone chooses to grow hydrangeas at home, safety still matters. Children should never be encouraged to chew flowers or leaves, and pets should be kept away from fallen plant material. Gardeners should wash their hands after heavy pruning, especially before touching their face or eating. And while hydrangeas quietly hide toxins beneath their soft pastel petals, the next flower on this list carries a far darker reputation. Because this plant once caused entire groups of ancient soldiers to collapse, not from eating the flower itself, but from eating honey made from its nectar, rhododendron. Rhododendrons are among the most dramatic flowering plants in the world. Some species grow as compact ornamental shrubs, while others become massive wild plants, towering over mountain forests. Certain mature rhododendrons can reach more than 20 feet tall, spreading outward in dense walls of flowers and twisted branches. When they bloom, entire hillsides can transform into oceans of color. Deep crimson, bright magenta, soft pink, pure white, burning orange, and rich violet shades that seem almost too vivid to be natural. In some mountain regions, blooming rhododendron forests stretch for miles beneath drifting fog and cold mist, creating landscapes that feel ancient and mythical. The flowers themselves are trumpet-shaped with gently ruffled edges. Dark speckles or patterns often appear inside the petals, acting almost like visual landing guides for pollinating insects. Under sunlight, many blooms develop a soft, waxy glow that makes them appear almost artificial. The leaves are thick, leathery, and slightly glossy. Many species remain evergreen year-round, helping the plant survive colder mountain climates. Older rhododendrons develop twisted woody trunks and heavy branches covered in moss and lichen, giving the plants an aged, almost haunted appearance. Rhododendrons thrive naturally in cool, mountainous environments across Asia, Europe, and North America. They prefer acidic soil, rich in organic material, along with moist air and filtered sunlight. In regions such as the Himalayas, Japan, and parts of the Appalachian Mountains, wild rhododendron forests create some of the most breathtaking flowering landscapes on Earth. In many cultures, rhododendrons symbolize caution, mystery, hidden danger, and emotional intensity, and there is a reason for that. Certain species contain toxic chemicals called toxins. These compounds interfere with sodium channels in the body, affecting both the nervous system and the heart. Symptoms of poisoning can include dizziness, nausea, low blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, confusion, weakness, and temporary paralysis. But the strangest part of the story involves bees. When bees collect nectar from toxic rhododendrons, the honey itself can become poisonous. This substance became historically known as mad honey. Ancient historical accounts describe entire groups of Greek soldiers becoming violently sick after consuming honey contaminated by rhododendron nectar during military campaigns thousands of years ago. The soldiers reportedly suffered vomiting, confusion, weakness, hallucinations, and severe disorientation. Even today, toxic honey still occasionally causes poisonings in certain parts of the world, and that is what makes rhododendrons so unsettling. The poison does not stay inside the flower. It spreads through the ecosystem itself. The deeper we move into this list, the more dangerous these flowers become, because the next plant does not look mysterious or threatening at all. It looks innocent, fragile, almost magical, the kind of flower people place in wedding bouquets or imagine growing beside tiny forest cottages. But hidden beneath that gentle appearance is a toxin capable of interfering directly with the human heart. Lily of the Valley. Lily of the Valley is one of the smallest flowers on this list, yet it carries one of the most deceptive appearances in the plant world. The plant grows low to the ground, usually reaching only 6 to 12 inches tall. Thin green stems arch gracefully downward, supporting rows of tiny white bell-shaped flowers that appear almost perfectly symmetrical. From a distance, the blooms resemble delicate drops of porcelain hanging in the air. The flowers are usually pure white, although some rare varieties produce pale pink shades. Under soft morning light, the petals almost glow against the darker green forest floor. Their appearance is so gentle that many people describe them as fairy tale flowers. And then there is the fragrance. Lily of the Valley produces one of the sweetest floral scents in nature. The aroma is soft yet powerful, often used in expensive perfumes and luxury cosmetics. Entire rooms can fill with its fragrance, after only a few freshly cut stems are placed in water. Looking closer, each flower forms a tiny downward-facing bell with curved petal edges. The blossoms hang in neat rows along one side of the stem, creating an elegant cascading effect. Their smooth surface reflects light softly, making the flowers appear almost unreal after rain. The leaves are broad, smooth, and deep green with a slightly waxy texture. They emerge directly from the soil in paired formations surrounding the flowering stem like protective blades. Beneath the surface, the plant spreads through underground rhizomes, allowing entire colonies to slowly expand across forest floors over time. Lily of the valley naturally grows in cool woodland environments across Europe, Asia, and parts of North America. It thrives in shaded forests with moist soil rich in organic matter. In spring, large patches of the flowers can carpet the ground beneath trees, creating landscapes that feel peaceful and almost enchanted. In many cultures, the flower symbolizes purity, humility, rebirth, and the return of spring. In France, lily of the valley is traditionally given as a symbol of good luck and happiness. But hidden beneath that innocent symbolism is something far more dangerous. The plant contains cardiac glycosides, toxic compounds that directly affect heart function. These chemicals are similar to substances used in certain heart medications, but in uncontrolled amounts, they can become extremely dangerous. If ingested, lily of the valley may cause nausea, vomiting, dizziness, blurred vision, slowed heart rate, confusion, and severe cardiac irregularities. Even the water inside a vase containing freshly cut flowers may absorb traces of the toxins over time. And that is what makes this flower truly disturbing. It does not look dangerous in any way. There are no thorns, no dark colors, no aggressive shape. Just tiny white bells carrying chemicals capable of disrupting the rhythm of the human heart. Despite its toxicity, lily of the valley remains extremely popular in ornamental gardening because of its fragrance and elegant appearance. It grows best in cool climates with partial to full shade. The plant prefers moist, well-draining soil rich in organic material, especially woodland-style environments. Once established, it spreads aggressively underground and can form dense colonies with very little maintenance. Many gardeners use it beneath trees or along shaded pathways because it creates lush carpets of green foliage and spring blooms. However, safety is extremely important if planting this flower at home. Every part of the plant is toxic, including the flowers, leaves, roots, and berries. Children should never be allowed to place any part of the plant in their mouth, and pets should be kept away entirely. Gardeners handling large amounts of lily of the valley should wash their hands carefully afterward, especially before eating or touching their eyes, because sometimes the most dangerous poisons arrive disguised as innocence. And while lily of the valley hides danger beneath softness and purity, the next flower on our list stands tall like something from ancient fantasy. Beautiful, elegant, and balanced directly between healing and death. Foxglove. Foxglove is one of the most visually striking flowers ever cultivated in cottage gardens. The plant grows vertically in tall, dramatic spikes that can reach between 3 and 6 feet high. In dense gardens, the flower towers above surrounding plants like glowing columns of color rising from the earth. At first glance, foxglove almost feels magical. Its flowers form long vertical clusters of tubular bells hanging downward along the stem. The shape resembles rows of tiny lanterns or medieval gloves, which is where the plant received its unusual name. The colors are breathtaking: deep royal purple, soft pink, creamy white, golden yellow, and rich magenta shades dusted with darker spots inside the petals. Those inner speckles act like visual guides for bees, directing pollinators deeper into the flower. Under sunlight, the blooms appear velvety and luminous, especially after rain when water droplets collect along the lower edges of the bells. Each flower tube is soft and slightly fuzzy inside. The petals curve outward gently at the opening, giving the blooms a dramatic, theatrical appearance. Entire flower spikes may contain dozens of blossoms stacked one above another in near-perfect symmetry. The leaves are dark green, heavily textured, and slightly fuzzy to the touch. They form thick clusters at the base of the plant before the flowering stem rises upward. The stems themselves are strong and upright, allowing foxglove to dominate garden spaces visually during peak bloom. Foxglove originally became widespread throughout Europe, especially in woodland clearings, cottage gardens, and rocky hillsides. The plant thrives in cool climates with moist, well-draining soil and partial sunlight. In the wild, foxglove often appears suddenly in disturbed areas after fires or forest clearing, almost like nature reclaiming the land. In folklore, foxglove became associated with fairies, magic, and woodland spirits. Some legends warned people never to touch the flowers at night, believing supernatural forces lived inside the blooms. But science eventually revealed something even stranger. Inside foxglove are compounds called digitalis glycosides. These chemicals became the foundation for certain life-saving heart medications used in modern medicine. And that creates one of the most unsettling contradictions in the plant world. Because the same flower capable of saving a human life can also stop the heart entirely. In controlled medical doses, digitalis compounds help regulate heart function. But if someone consumes too much of the plant directly, the toxins can trigger nausea, confusion, irregular heartbeat, blurred vision, seizures, and cardiac arrest. The line between medicine and poison becomes dangerously thin. And that is what makes foxglove so fascinating. It exists directly between healing and death. Foxglove remains extremely popular in ornamental gardens because of its dramatic appearance and ability to attract pollinators. The plant grows best in cooler climates with moist soil rich in organic matter. It prefers partial sunlight and moderate watering, especially during active blooming periods. Many gardeners allow foxglove to self-seed naturally because new plants often appear the following season without much effort. In cottage-style gardens, the towering flower spikes create a wild, romantic atmosphere, difficult to replicate with other plants. But extreme caution is necessary. Every part of the plant is toxic. Leaves, flowers, seeds. Even small, accidental ingestion can become dangerous, especially for children or pets. Gardeners should wear gloves while pruning or handling large amounts of foxglove and avoid planting it near edible herbs or vegetables where confusion could occur. Because behind those towering fairy tale blooms, nature hid chemicals powerful enough to control the human heart itself. As beautiful as the previous flowers were, the next plant carries a reputation far older and far darker. For centuries, people whispered stories about it in connection with witches, poisoners, assassins, and forbidden rituals. Its name alone sounded dangerous. Deadly nightshade. Deadly nightshade. Deadly nightshade, also known as belladonna, is one of the most infamous poisonous plants in human history. Unlike the soft elegance of lily of the valley or the towering beauty of foxglove, belladonna has a darker and more mysterious appearance from the very beginning. The plant usually grows between 3 and 5 feet tall, with long branching stems that spread outward in a loose, wild structure. Mature plants often appear untamed, as if they belong deep inside forgotten forests, rather than cultivated gardens. Its flowers are strangely beautiful in an unsettling way. Instead of bright, cheerful colors, belladonna produces drooping, bell-shaped blooms in deep purple, dusty violet, or brownish crimson shades. The petals appear soft and velvety under low light, almost like dark silk. At twilight, the flowers seem even more eerie. The colors become richer, the shadows deepen around them, and the entire plant begins to feel almost unnatural. The flowers themselves are tubular and slightly elongated, hanging downward from the branches rather than facing upward toward sunlight. Their muted tones give the plant a secretive appearance compared to more vibrant flowering species. But perhaps the most disturbing part comes later in the season. The berries. Belladonna produces glossy black fruits that look remarkably similar to edible cherries or wild berries. Their smooth surface reflects sunlight beautifully, making them appear sweet and inviting. To children or animals, they can seem completely harmless. And that illusion has caused poisonings for centuries. The leaves are large, oval-shaped, and dull green with a slightly soft texture. The stems often appear dark green or purple near the base. As the plant matures, it develops a tangled structure that blends naturally into forest undergrowth. Deadly nightshade grows naturally across parts of Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. It prefers woodland edges, shaded hillsides, moist soil, and partially hidden environments where sunlight filters through trees. In ancient Europe, belladonna became deeply connected with folklore and fear. Some legends claimed witches used the plant in flying ointments or hallucinogenic rituals. Others believed assassins secretly used its toxins to poison enemies. And unlike many myths from the ancient world, these fears were not entirely imaginary. Belladonna contains powerful alkaloids including atropine and scopolamine. These compounds attack the nervous system and interfere with signals between nerves and muscles. Symptoms of poisoning can become terrifying very quickly. Dilated pupils, dry mouth, rapid heartbeat, hallucination, severe confusion, loss of coordination, paralysis, and, in serious cases, respiratory failure and death. One reason belladonna became so feared historically is because the line between reality and hallucination often disappeared completely during poisoning. Victims could become violently disoriented, unable to distinguish imagination from the real world. Even the name belladonna carries strange historical meaning. In Renaissance Italy, women reportedly used tiny amounts of the plant to dilate their pupils because wide, dark eyes were considered attractive. The phrase belladonna actually means beautiful woman, which creates another disturbing contradiction. Beauty linked directly to poison. Despite its terrifying reputation, deadly nightshade is still cultivated in certain botanical gardens and by collectors interested in historical medicinal plants. It grows best in moist, fertile soil with partial shade and moderate temperatures. The plant prefers woodland-like conditions and can become surprisingly hardy once established. However, because of its extreme toxicity, belladonna should never be grown casually in areas accessible to children or pets. Anyone handling the plant should wear gloves, especially when touching berries or roots. Even though skin absorption is usually limited, accidental contact, followed by touching the mouth or eyes, can still become dangerous. Because belladonna does not simply poison the body, it attacks the mind itself. And while deadly nightshade became famous for confusion and hallucinations, the next flower on our list pushes psychological horror even further, because this plant has terrified people not only with death, but with the complete destruction of reality itself. Datura. Datura is one of the strangest and most psychologically disturbing plants in the natural world. Unlike many flowers that appear peaceful during the day, Datura becomes most haunting after sunset. The plant usually grows between 3 and 5 feet tall with thick branching stems and large irregular leaves. In warm climates, it can spread rapidly and form dense clusters that look almost wild and invasive. But the flowers are what truly make the plant unforgettable. Large, trumpet-shaped blooms emerge from the branches like pale, ghostly horns opening toward the night sky. Some flowers can reach 8 inches long, giving them an almost unnatural scale compared to the rest of the plant. Most Datura flowers are white, though some species produce pale lavender or soft violet tones. Under moonlight, the blooms appear luminous, almost glowing against the darkness around them, and the scent becomes stronger after sunset. Sweet, heavy, almost hypnotic, the petals are smooth and delicate, with gently twisting edges. As the flowers fully open, they resemble enormous spiraling trumpets frozen in motion. In nighttime gardens, they can appear almost supernatural. The leaves are broad, uneven, and slightly coarse with jagged edges. The stems are thick and pale green, while the seed pods become covered in sharp spikes, giving rise to names like thornapple. Datura thrives in warm climates with full sunlight and loose, well-draining soil. It grows aggressively in disturbed ground roadsides, abandoned fields, and tropical or subtropical regions around the world. In many ancient cultures, Datura became connected with spiritual rituals, dark ceremonies, and dangerous hallucinogenic experiences. Shamans in some regions used controlled doses for visions or religious practices, but uncontrolled exposure often became catastrophic. Because Datura contains powerful alkaloids, including scopolamine, atropine, and hyoscyamine. These compounds interfere severely with brain function and nervous system activity. The psychological effects can become horrifying. Victims may experience vivid hallucinations impossible to distinguish from reality. Memory loss, extreme confusion, panic, delirium, violent behavior, complete disconnection from the real world. And unlike many hallucinogenic substances, Datura poisoning often leaves people unable to understand that they are hallucinating at all. Some poisoning cases reportedly lasted for days. Others resulted in coma or death due to respiratory collapse and overheating. That is what makes datura so feared. It does not simply alter perception. It can completely erase the boundary between reality and illusion. Despite the danger, datura is still grown in ornamental gardens because of its spectacular night-blooming flowers. The plant thrives in warm, sunny environments with moderate watering and loose, fertile soil. It grows quickly and blooms heavily during warmer months, especially in tropical climates. Some gardeners cultivate it specifically for moon gardens because the white flowers reflect moonlight so dramatically at night. But growing datura safely requires extreme caution. Every part of the plant is toxic. Leaves, flowers, seeds, roots. Even small, accidental ingestion can become life-threatening. The seeds are especially dangerous because they contain concentrated toxins. Gardeners should always wear gloves while pruning or collecting seed pods, and should never plant datura in areas where children or pets can access it, because beneath those glowing moonlit flowers exists one of the most psychologically terrifying poisons nature ever created. The deeper we move into this list, the more nature begins to feel almost intentionally deceptive. Because the next flower does not look sinister at all. In fact, it looks heavenly, elegant, almost sacred. And yet hidden inside its enormous blossoms are chemicals powerful enough to destroy the human mind. Angel's trumpet. Angel's trumpet is one of the most visually dramatic ornamental plants ever cultivated. Unlike smaller garden flowers, this plant grows as a massive tropical shrub or small tree that can reach between 6 and 20 feet tall in warm climates. When fully mature, the plant transforms into a living canopy of giant hanging flowers swaying beneath thick branches. And those flowers are unforgettable. Each bloom forms a massive trumpet-shaped bell that hangs downward gracefully from the stems. Some flowers can grow over a foot long, making them appear almost unreal beside ordinary garden plants. The colors are breathtaking: creamy white, soft peach, golden yellow, pale pink, warm apricot, and delicate sunset tones blending gradually across the petals. At dusk, the flowers seem to glow softly beneath fading sunlight. Entire gardens can feel transformed once Angel's trumpet begins blooming in the evening air. And then comes the fragrance. Sweet, heavy, intoxicating. The scent becomes strongest at night to attract moths and nocturnal pollinators. In warm, humid weather, the perfume can drift across entire yards and pathways. The petals themselves are smooth and silky with gently curled edges that make the flowers resemble flowing fabric frozen in motion. Under moonlight, the pale blossoms almost appear luminous against the dark leaves surrounding them. The foliage is broad, lush, and deep green. Leaves are slightly fuzzy and large enough to create dense tropical shade beneath the plant. Thick, woody stems support the heavy blooms while spreading outward rapidly in warm climates. Angel's trumpet originated mainly in South America and thrives in tropical and subtropical environments. It grows best in rich, well-draining soil with regular moisture, warm temperatures, and plenty of sunlight. In many traditional cultures, the plant became connected with spiritual rituals, visions, and supernatural experiences because of its intense psychoactive effects. But hidden behind the beauty exists something deeply dangerous. Angel's trumpet contains powerful alkaloids, including scopolamine and atropine chemicals capable of severely disrupting the nervous system and brain function. Symptoms of poisoning may include extreme confusion, hallucination, memory loss, rapid heartbeat, paralysis, seizures, coma, and in severe cases, death from respiratory failure. What makes the plant especially terrifying is how completely it can disconnect victims from reality. People suffering severe poisoning may wander aimlessly, fail to recognize loved ones, or lose entire sections of memory. And yet, despite all of this, Angel's trumpet remains one of the most popular tropical ornamental plants in the world. Gardeners love it because of its fast growth, dramatic appearance, and continuous flowering in warm climates. The plant thrives in fertile soil with regular watering and strong sunlight, although partial shade helps protect blooms during extreme heat. With enough nutrients and moisture, Angel's trumpet can flower repeatedly throughout the growing season, producing dozens of giant blooms simultaneously. But growing it safely requires serious caution. Every part of the plant is toxic. Flowers, leaves, seeds, roots. Gardeners should always wear gloves while pruning and avoid planting it near children or pets. Fallen flowers and seed pods should be removed carefully to prevent accidental exposure, because beneath those heavenly blossoms, nature hid chemicals capable of destroying the human mind. And somehow, the next plant on our list becomes even more disturbing, because hidden inside its seeds exists one of the deadliest natural toxins ever discovered by science: castor bean. Castor bean is unlike almost every other flower on this list. Instead of soft, romantic petals and delicate blossoms, the plant creates an exotic tropical appearance that feels almost prehistoric. In warm climates, castor bean grows extremely fast, sometimes reaching heights of 10 to 15 feet within a single growing season. Mature plants develop thick, upright stems supporting enormous star-shaped leaves that spread outward dramatically like giant hands. The foliage alone makes the plant unforgettable. Some varieties display glossy emerald green leaves, while others produce deep burgundy, bronze red, or nearly black foliage under strong sunlight. The surfaces often appear slightly metallic during late afternoon light, giving the plant an almost alien appearance. The flowers themselves grow in vertical clusters near the top of the stems. Though smaller and less delicate than traditional flowers, they possess a strange, sculptural beauty. Shades of crimson, pink, green, and dark red create dense flower spikes that eventually develop into spiny seed pods. And inside those pods are the seeds that made this plant infamous around the world. The seeds are smooth, oval-shaped, and beautifully patterned with marbled brown, black, silver, and cream markings. They almost resemble polished gemstones or decorative beads, which makes them dangerously deceptive. The leaves are enormous and deeply lobed with sharply pointed tips. Thick, hollow stems transport water rapidly through the fast-growing plant, helping it dominate tropical landscapes in remarkably short periods of time. Castor bean originally spread through parts of Africa and the Middle East before becoming naturalized across tropical and subtropical regions worldwide. The plant thrives in strong sunlight, rich, moist soil, and hot temperatures. Because of its dramatic appearance, many gardeners cultivate castor bean for ornamental landscaping, especially in exotic or jungle-themed gardens. But hidden inside the seeds exists ricin, one of the most dangerous natural toxins known to science. Ricin prevents cells from producing essential proteins needed for survival. Once enough toxin enters, the body cells begin dying rapidly throughout multiple organ systems. Symptoms may include severe abdominal pain, vomiting, bloody diarrhea, extreme dehydration, internal organ failure, respiratory collapse, and death. What makes ricin especially frightening is its potency. Even relatively small amounts can become fatal if the seeds are chewed and properly digested. Over the years, ricin became internationally feared because it appeared in criminal poisonings, assassination investigations, and biotoxin cases. And all of it came from a decorative garden plant. Despite the danger, castor bean continues to be cultivated because of its extraordinary tropical beauty. The plant grows rapidly in warm, sunny environments with fertile soil and regular watering. Once established, it requires surprisingly little maintenance. Many gardeners use it to create dramatic height and bold foliage in ornamental landscapes. But safety is absolutely critical. The seeds should never be accessible to children or pets. Gardeners handling seed pods should wear gloves and dispose of fallen seeds carefully. In some regions, warnings are issued specifically because the beautifully patterned seeds may attract curious children. Because beneath that exotic beauty, nature created one of the deadliest toxins ever hidden inside a plant. And perhaps that is the most unsettling truth about all the flowers we explored tonight. Nature does not always warn us with ugliness. Sometimes danger arrives wrapped in perfect petals, sweet fragrance, and breathtaking beauty. So the next time you walk through a peaceful garden filled with flowers, look a little closer, because some of the most beautiful things on earth can also be the most deadly.